So now that it's official, I guess kind of parting thoughts on Artemi and what it means for the team moving forward.
Well, I just think the finality of it is finally here. Sometimes just the anxiety or the uncertainty is more difficult to deal with than the finality of it. Everybody can move on, and certainly, the short time that I've had the opportunity to work with Brett, we've had a great relationship, and he is a terrific hockey player, one of the Rangers' very best of his generation. His body of work here speaks for itself. He's a guy that is unique in the way he plays the game. He certainly can drive an awful lot of offense, and he's one of those game-breaking type players. So we wish him the very best. I had a conversation with him last night after I was informed that the trade took place, and we wish him the very best. And that was part of the conversation I had with him last night.
I know you have a lot on your plate.
I do.
You look at like that.
That was a joke.
Say, hey, let me look at this kid, but even though I know you got other things focused, you look at him and he's about.
At some point, I will when at the appropriate time. Obviously, I had a conversation with Drew about it, and I know our hockey operations department is very excited about this player, and the possibility of him becoming an impact player in the NHL. He certainly has shown at the levels that he's been at that he's every bit that player, and so we're certainly excited to add him to our group, and we'll see where it goes moving forward. But I think at the appropriate time, will I try to familiarize myself with him and his game, for sure.
Mike, two questions. One, what has this last week plus or so been for you? You have to, and understandably why we all get it, stretch your league score. And you're competitive. You guys want to win. We know the situation, but that can't be easy.
No, it's not, because obviously, we're all in this thing to win. We're all wired to try to win. It's a competitive league, it's a competitive environment, and we're all competitive, and we want to win. And so, when you don't have, the ability to put, one of your very best players in the lineup, it doesn't help your chances. So, but I also understand it. That's just the reality of the circumstance, and it's part of where we're at right now, and we're gonna, it's my job to coach the group that I have available each and every night, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on the guys that are in our lineup, not necessarily the guys that aren't, and we're going to do our very best to coach the group that we have and try to help these guys have success.
And as part of the finality of it as well, the trade was made. You never know what's coming back in that trade as a coach. You don't have a guy coming back that you're putting in your lineup. So is that also part of the finality, understanding that there's nobody else coming that we have to work in at this point too?
Yeah, and obviously Chris and I have had a lot of conversations around this, and what the game plan is moving forward to try to reshape the organization to be as competitive as it can be in the most expeditious fashion. And so, and this is part of the process. So it's not anything that is has caught me by surprise. I understand it, and and we're going to work together to do our very best to try to accomplish what what has been articulated to everyone.
Do you talk to the team as far as now that it's over and say, it's kind of send a message to them?
I already have addressed this circumstance with the team. I don't know that another conversation is necessary. We've had a fair amount of discussions.
Have you, refresh my memory, have you been through a retool, rebuild, whatever this is before? I mean, it seemed like you had a pretty good team at Pittsburgh for a long time.
Well, the last few years I would say have been a little bit different. If you think in terms of the last couple of years, I think when Pittsburgh traded Jake Gensel, that probably triggered a change in strategy. So there's been a couple of years there where it's, there's been there was a plan put in place to try to return the team to, a competitive situation.
And when you were looking at taking this job, obviously you knew you've done your homework on the roster and all that kind of stuff. Did you anticipate that this might be a thing that might come up?
Well, I knew where the group was at, just the core group as far as where they are in their respective careers and the, in the opportunity to be competitive and where it's at. Did I anticipate it? Did I anticipate us being here this year? No.
If I could ask you, we're wearing Rangers now, a couple days ago we're wearing USA hockey stuff. The last few days, and even tonight, as a coach, are you on edge about watching guys like Charlie last night? How has that been for you?
Well, that one in particular wasn't, the irony of that one is my wife was on the phone, with my daughter when Charlie went out last night. So that was that was a little bit unnerving. But, at the end of the day, these guys are going to play their games. They're hockey players. They're going to play. And every time you lace your skates and you go on the ice, there's inherent risk. Players are going to get hurt sometimes. Sometimes they're not. Our hope is that everybody stays healthy and we can go over there with the full complement of players. That's our hope. But we also understand they have a responsibility, their respective NHL teams, to win. And that's where their investment should be until such time as, the Olympics begin, and then we can turn our attention to that challenge.
He seems okay.
Yes.
Yeah. The other question I have for you, your headspace is here for the game tonight, but then you turn your focus to just like, how are you feeling right now with it, like right around the corner? A week from now, you guys are playing the first game.
Yeah, I feel good about it. Obviously, I've told you guys this on so many occasions. It's an incredible privilege. It's the honor of a lifetime to have the opportunity to participate in this event with our country's best players. We've worked extremely hard to put a process in place from a preparation standpoint to prepare the group as best we can for success. And we're excited about competing with this group when we get over there. So there's been a whole lot of work that's been taking place for the last 2 years, starting before the Four Nations. So, excuse me, I think, with all that work having been done and all that preparation having been done, in the hopes that we can set this group up for success, it's hard not to get excited about the opportunity we have in front of us.
As long as we're down this road, do you have any concerns about Jack Hughes and his availability?
No, certainly not at this point. Not that I'm aware of. I think, usually when players, the way it works is when players get injured, to the extent where it becomes a concern, I usually get a call from Billy Guerin, and then discussions are had, and that's usually the process that takes place.
Speaking of injuries, Lava yesterday was able to develop without any restrictions. Is that just a good sign to see how he's looking?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Right now, he's a game time decision, but I would anticipate him playing.
One more, if you don't mind. You mentioned the high level production that you could receive from him. How do you wrap your mind around replacing that, and what does that look like to you moving forward?
Yeah, well, I don't know that, we're not going to plug a player in. He's going to replace what Artemi does for this team. I think what we're trying to do is build a team game where, we can replace it by committee, so to speak. I think we can do a better job at being harder to play against, giving up less opportunities on the defensive side, which should allow us an opportunity to create some offense off of that. But I don't know that, we're not plugging anybody in and saying, hey, you're going to go replace what Artemi's brought to this group. That would be unfair just because of how unique his ability is. So, you know, we're going to try to build a team game that that can help us, you know, replace, I guess, the overall contribution that Brett brings.
Last thing, please, if you don't mind. Just this being the last day, we'll talk to you before the break. How hopeful, optimistic are you that coming out of the break, Fox and Igor might be available to you? Do you think it's trending in that direction?
I do. I'm optimistic. I think they're getting closer. They're both skating. Shesty hasn't officially joined the team yet, but he's been skating. Foxy has had a number of skates with the team and is knocking on the door, so I would anticipate them a whole lot closer.
I know you assess your job mostly based on wins and losses, but just how do you assess your job so far, just based on how you've been able to build a culture here through this stretch of the season?
Well, it's given the circumstance that we're in, I think we all have to own it, you know, and I think it starts with me. I've got to do a better job at coaching these guys and putting these guys in positions to be successful. And so, you know, we're not in the position that we had hoped. We all have to take responsibility for that. You know, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't look at myself and say, how can I do a better job in coaching this group to try to get more favorable results.